What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Combat Corporation, your source of combat sports. I'm your host, Al the Postmaster Morrow, and today I have a gear review on the Sanabul Core Series boxing gloves. Alright folks, as always, I'm incredibly excited to bring you yet another gear review, as today I have the Sanabul Core Series boxing gloves. The gloves that they say will let you know that this is the next step up from your beginner glove. These are Sanabul's #1 intermediate gloves that they have, and these are definitely a nice turning point glove, and I've enjoyed using them a lot over the last 6-7 months now. Now this is also part of the Sanabul mini marathon. The last few videos and the videos after this will be a bunch of different Sanabul products, simply because I unboxed the entire Sanabul MMA sparring glove lineup in September. I bought them all on Prime Day through Amazon, and then Zach from Sanabul, super cool guy, dropped some love for him in the comments below, asked me what type of gloves I didn't have by Sanabul yet, and the Core Series was one of them, along with the Funk Strikes I've recently reviewed. These are the Core Series. Like I said, they're intermediate level glove, and these are what I would call a needle glove because they're right in the middle, okay? And the reason why I say that is because you got beginner level gloves, and then you have intermediate gloves that will tell you if you still are in that intermediate stage or if you're ready to graduate to your professional pair of gloves, okay? And that usually is something that you will find out relatively quickly. So this glove is a great glove to tell you, because not only is it has some beginner qualities and that it's going to keep you safe, it's overly protective like some other beginner gloves out there, but it's also going to say, do you want a glove that has less padding, more padding, similar padding? Do you want gloves that are wider, thinner, smaller, taller, whatever it might be? Or do you want gloves that are made of something different? Do you want gloves that are made of something similar? Do you think the gloves look cool? Whatever it might be. And that's the cool thing about intermediate level gloves, is that they do that incredibly well. They will tell you if you're ready to buy your next pair of Clato Reyes's. They will tell you if you're ready to stay at a similar intermediate glove or just buy another pair of these because you like them. That's the other thing about some intermediate level gloves, is that people will use intermediate over professional levels because they do a really good job. They have that same beginner qualities that keep you safe, but they also last a good chunk of time, and they will keep you nice and safe, and that's always a good thing about them. So Sanabul promotes it as such. They say you're definitely going to realize the differences between their essential and between other beginner gloves out there. They're going to keep you safe, and they're also going to have a couple different features to them. And I do agree. I was definitely able to tell a lot of differences between a lot of other beginner gloves out there and these. They're very similar to a lot of gloves for me. As far as like an intermediate glove that I would talk about would be like the Ringside Apex, the Ringside Bullets, stuff like that, different gloves along those lines. I've really enjoyed using these, and I think that you will too. But as always, just because these were sent to me, especially by a big brand like Sanabul, does not mean that they sponsor the channel. I didn't get any money for this, or even as a fighter, they don't sponsor me. I do this all because I love it, and because Zach from Sanabul asked if I would give my 100% straight shot honest review. And at the end of the day, guys, there are 3 things people better never mess with me about, and that is my safety, my training, and above all, my money. I don't like when people mess with my money. I would never mess with yours, your safety, and especially your training. I love this sport, and I want you to love it too. So with that said, guys, this is the review on the Sanabul Core Series boxing gloves, and I will have the MMA sparring gloves video coming out at the same time with these. Now, when it comes to the model that I got, sorry, I stutter sometimes. When it comes to the model that I got these in 16-ounce hook and loop only. They don't come in lace-up hook and loop, meaning that they're Velcro, and I think they have 4 different colors. They have these, which is the metallic blue. They also have a metallic red and silver. They have red and white and black and red. I think there's 4 or 5 colors that you can get, but in this case, I got the metallic blue and silver, and I think they look awesome. It reminds me of R2-D2, which is funny because Sanabul actually has 2 pairs of R2-D2 gloves, which I actually have on display only in my collection. My mom got those for me, and they look really cool. I don't want to beat them up. But when it comes to these gloves, they do look pretty cool. You got a couple different options as far as colors go, and you got a couple different options as far as size goes. You can actually get these in 8, 10, 12, 14, and 16 ounces, just like the Sanabul Essentials. So you got a ton of different sizes to go through. You can do 8 and 10 ounces if you have a child or a woman with small hands, and then you can go all the way up to someone like me with big hands for 16 ounces. And I think if they had 18s, that would be even cooler for some people out there. But honestly, the 16s fit just fine for my hands. They're very comfortable for my hands as well. So those are the sizes that I have, but the model I have exactly is the blue and silver coloration, metallic blue and silver, and 16 ounces, just for reference. When we go into the look of the glove, you can see that, like I said, Sanabul always has some cool futuristic designs. They really do look like they're robotic Star Wars type things, and they actually have a Star Wars lineup. I think they still do anyway. On the side here, you can see that the whole thing is basically that nice, super cool metallic blue, and that reflects so cool off the camera. You can see it's a Sanabul there with that silverish white sweeping line going up here, with the smaller lines that are accompanying it as well, all the way up to the tips of the fingers right there. And I think it even goes a little bit down. There you go, down to the fingers as well. And that looks really, really cool. The other part that I like about it is when we go to the thumb, you have that solid blue still with some more of your silverish lining going on there. And I just like that. Sweeping lines usually catch eyes very cool. Then when we open this up, you can see that you got more silver towards the top, but yet it breaks once again. It's a nice even distribution down to the metallic blue color that you got going on here. You got that white mesh palm going out here. It's like a grayish white mesh. And then you also have more metallic blue on the inside of the thumb, and your thumb attachment is also that metallic blue. When we come down here, you can see it says Sanabul in silver, 16 ounces. Right there, I'll bring it a little closer for you. And that pops out really nice in their basic Sanabul writing that they have, and it looks really cool as well. You got some more sweeping lines going on the outside of the wrist strap all the way to the back, where you have the Sanabul logo right there in silver, and then it's his core. And it's a nice futuristic looking core, and I like how that looks. When you open the glove up, we can see that the interior lining, like everything else Sanabul makes, the bottom part is that same metallic blue because it's the same material as the outer shell. Then the rest of it is black on the inside. And I do like how the black complements the blue and silver. I didn't mention the stitching, but the stitching is also metallic blue that you can see throughout the glove here. It really blends in with the vinyl very well. So overall, like I said, it's a very cool looking glove, I think, for especially with the price range and for the metallic paint. And one thing about it being a less expensive glove compared to some others, like the glove goes for 40 bucks. There are some super expensive gloves out there where the metallic paint just flakes off and comes apart. And this glove doesn't do that. The vinyl itself is the metallic blue, which is really cool. So I like that it's not going to flake off, and it hasn't done that yet. It's actually what the vinyl is compared to it being like a coating over the vinyl or over the leather. That's why I hate metallic colors sometimes. They look awesome. They look so cool. Some of them just flake apart, and like I remember I got a pair of super rares. I'm going off a tangent here, but like the gold started flaking off immediately, and I was so angry. Good gloves though. I gotta review more super rare stuff. I don't think I ever have, and I have a ton of their gloves. I should start doing that soon. Take a note, everyone. Remind me in the comments. Please comment below. Let me know. Anyway, when it comes to the build of the glove, like a lot of other things by Sanabul, in fact, everything Sanabul has, it's not animal made at all. There's no leather in the glove. It is all engineered leather. Sanabul's patented engineered leather on the outside. And like everything else with Sanabul, it's a very stretchy engineered leather. And it is a little bit thicker and definitely more like grippy and durable than, say, their Essential glove, and it's also just as stretchy, if not a little bit more. And you want a little bit of a stretchiness to the glove itself and to that padding, to that outer shell, because you don't want it to catch, rip, and make holes, peel the vinyl off and such. That's basically what you're trying to avoid here. So overall, the outer shell everywhere is made out of that vinyl. The only part that isn't the vinyl is the mesh on the palm and the interior lining, which is a different material. But when we come to the padding of the glove, just like a lot of other gloves that Sanabul has, this is a gel impact foam that they have. They call it the gel impact foam, and it's basically IMF Tech foam or ringside foam. Very similar to your ringside Apex. I will say that this is definitely a little bit firmer compared to the Apex, but it's still actually pretty soft compared to some other gloves out there. Compared to the Essentials, I'd say it's about as soft / firm as the Essentials, so I'd put it at like that soft to like dead in the middle range if you were going to put it on like a mattress counter, which usually goes soft, medium soft, medium, then firm, medium firm, stuff like, well, medium firm, then firm. I would definitely put this in like in the middle, if not on the medium soft range. It's still a pretty soft padding. And basically what it is, it's one solid piece of foam that you can see here. The glove's actually split. You got that wrist splint here, and then you have that one solid piece of foam from the thumb all the way over here to the hand. And they inject it with a type of gel that basically keeps it in one spot and also helps it stay into one solid form. Also helps with mitigating impact when you punch stuff, which is always good. So you have nice padding here. The thumb is actually really noticeably different from some other Sanabul thumbs in that it's a little bit thinner towards the front, and it kind of has that Japanese style curve in some ways. Now, is it as good? I'm not saying it's nearly as good as a winning curve of the thumb, and it's still a little bit, I wouldn't even say wider, it's about the same width, but it has a nice curvature to keep you in a nice natural punch position, which I love. And for a beginner / intermediate level glove that you have going on here, it definitely has a nice feel to it when you make your natural fist. When we come down to the back of the wrist, you can see that we have a big wrist bar here, which is an EVA foam. It's basically a closed cell foam, which is made out of like wrestling mats, yoga mats, things along those lines. But it's pretty soft compared to some other ones, which makes it flexible enough to kind of brace your wrist. And what I like is that the back of the padding here meets with the wrist very well, so it keeps it in a nice solid spot. So the wrist support on this glove is actually not bad compared to the Core Series, the Funk Strike, which had something very similar, but it dipped down a lot. Now this glove is still pretty top heavy compared to some others. Like if I do this, I'm holding it up now, it'll fall forward, but the balance is still much more even compared to the Funk Strike that I showed. It was so heavy that it drooped down so far. In fact, I have them next to me. It droops down like this a lot. You can see how far that droops compared to this glove, which barely droops at all. This one is like literally hanging. And that's not something that this glove does. It's actually less stiff on the, it's a little bit more stiff on the back rather, but yet the material itself is less stiff and the padding is less stiff compared to the Funk Strike for me too, which is always good. You also have another piece down here to stabilize the bottom of your wrist as well. When we turn around to the palm of the glove, you can see that we have a grip bar that is actually really soft. It feels as soft, if not softer, than the padding on the back of the hand, which is good. And then, like always, I say having this material, the mesh material, a lot of people don't like it because it's cheap. Yes, it's more inexpensive compared to vinyl or leather, but what it does is it helps the glove air out a bit. And it's not too rough at all on your skin. When you spar, I can't feel it rubbing my face. It just kind of feels like the back of a backpack for me. Not very rough at all. Actually pretty soft compared to some other meshes that I felt in some other gloves. And in general, it feels really good, and it helps the glove air out when you're done using it, which is nice. The piping here is very loose around the thumb, so it doesn't constrict your palm or your thumb at all. And the stitching is very good. There are no frayed stitchings anywhere, which is nice. And then you also have more piping down around the wrist. That's very good. And then on top of it, you have a very fat start to the wrist strap that goes to the inside of the glove. That way it pulls across your wrist nice and tight. Then you have a nice little trackway design that they have here. There's like a track or a grid, you could say. You have the bar here, and then you have a shorter wrist strap. I'd say it's still about 3 inches wide, about 2.5, 3 inches wide, I'd say, and it comes across right about there, and it fits right in the center. Now, I do wish that they had the splint up a little higher and that this went a little higher. That way the Velcro could actually tighten over the wrist itself. And the Velcro does overlap a little bit here that you can see. And the Velcro is not as strong as I wish it was. It kind of does come off a little bit too easy for me, and it takes a bit to stick. You gotta really push it down for it to stick. When we talk about the interior lining, though, you can see that the base of the lining is made out of that same vinyl material that we have on the outside, and a lot of Thai gloves do that, and Sanabul does that with a lot of their gloves. But the rest of the glove, unlike like the Essentials or even unlike the Funk Strike, is actually like a poly cotton material that we got going on here. And it feels like a dry fit pillow is the easiest way I got to explain it. It kind of feels similar to like the Rival lining that you have there. It's a very soft, foamy fleece type lining. It feels really good on your hand. And when you put your hand on the inside, it slides in effortlessly. And the back of your hand immediately feels just cradled and protected. And I really like that about this glove. It's also very easy to close and form a fist in a nice natural position. Your thumb doesn't protrude past the knuckles at all. So when you punch, I've not once smashed my thumb in this glove. I've not once had any issue with my thumb in this glove. And the knuckle padding is very dense to where I cannot feel my knuckles at all in this glove. When you strap this on tight, you can definitely feel that it's really hugging more of your forearm than your wrist. The wrist support's still pretty good in this because it is kind of keeping me from bending down much further than this, which will stop wrist injuries. And it also, because of that bar back here, it will not go off up that way unless I really shove like that. And unless I go to the side, which it doesn't that much either. Overall, it is pretty flexible in the wrist, especially if you flick your wrist when you punch sometimes. I don't. I usually keep more of a straight punch there. But in general, feels really good on the inside, very comfortable, and there's tons of room for me to wrap my hands up. Though I will say, probably with a knuckle guard or something that's big, still going to be a bit of a cramped space if you had something like that. And for me, the padding is so big and it already has a gel in it. You can wrap your hands up very lightly and you'll be able to hit bags, pads, and not worry about having any type of like knuckle or hand injury when it comes to this glove. I really do enjoy this glove as far as the protective parts of it go. I do wish, once again, though, that this part went up a little bit higher and that the strap itself went around my wrist so I can really customize what type of tightness I want around my wrist. Because here, the wrist support, where my wrist actually is, you would think would be here, where the strap is. My wrist is actually right here, right? And that's why if there was a lace-up version, you could really pinch, which is an old technique where you took the laces and you pinch it that way for the wrist support. And that's not what you have going on here. But overall, it's very comfortable on the inside. The other part that I like about it, there's thin EVA foam that's going across my forearms. It's keeping the glove hugged around my arm and also adds a little bit layer of protection. That way I'm not banging up my hands so much. It's also pretty padded in this mesh area too, and it feels good. But overall, very nice fit and feel, nice natural fist. My fingers do somewhat creep out a little bit every now and again, but it's very easy to just kind of grip and get it back compared to the Funk Strike where my fingers would creep out way down here, like by my grip bar, if not my palm. I never leave this part of the glove when I do it. I just have to readjust my hand. The one thing I will say though is that it took a little bit longer to break in compared to some other gloves out there. They are pretty flexible though, but keeping it open does take a little bit more effort. And the grips I wish were slightly stronger, but they're definitely not bad grips if you're doing a sport like Muay Thai or kickboxing that involves the clinch. I think overall that it is a nice glove for the price range too, about 40 bucks you can get these for. And they are definitely a step up from the Essential, but let's go ahead and go into the bag work and we'll come back with my final thoughts. So when it comes in the bags with the Sanabul Core boxing gloves, the first thing you're going to notice is just how safe your hands feel. They are very light and forward punching, but at the same time, they just cradle your knuckles, they cradle your wrists in such a great way, and you're able to really just hit bags and pads as hard as you want without any repercussions, which is awesome for the beginner to intermediate type that's going to use these gloves a lot more. Although as a professional myself, I have loved using these gloves, and I was really shocked as to how good they were. I love them so far. Now, when it comes to the look of the Sanabul Core, first off, I just like the metallic blue and the fact that for a cheaper glove, it's actually not flaking off. And I like the sweeping lines because not a lot of cool designs are out there for cheaper gloves like this. And these are only realistically 35, 40 bucks. There are some other gloves around that price range that have some cool designs, but they just don't last as long. So I think you're really going to enjoy the aesthetics of the glove. All right, folks, so my final verdict for the Sanabul Core Series boxing gloves, I've really enjoyed using them over the last several months, and for me, they are a great intermediate level glove, beginner / intermediate level glove, and also a good needle mover glove to see if you're going to stay in the middle of the dial, or if you're going to go to your next professional pair. Because you can definitely tell a good chunk of differences, even with a $10 difference between these, the Sanabul Cores, and the Sanabul Essentials. In general, like I said, I've enjoyed using these. These are a tank of a glove as far as they're safe, they're protective, and they feel good, and overall they're very comfortable as well. So I'm excited to kind of talk about some of the differences that you might see between these gloves and the Essentials, and what I like about these gloves and what I don't like about these gloves. But honestly, there's not a lot to take away that's negative from this glove, which is what I like about them. So when we go into these gloves, we can talk about, for one, the outer shell is still the same engineered leather that you would get with a lot of other Sanabul products. But in this case, the Core series, compared to the vinyl that you would get on the Essential, does feel, for me anyway, to my touch, feels a little bit thicker. And it feels a little bit more stretchy and durable than the Essential. And what I like about that being stretchy, guys, is it means that it's not going to catch, tear, rip, or anything like that. And it also feels like the seams on the outside, the stitching isn't as weak as the Essential. Because I do see a lot of my beginners have like stitches popping out here or there. I've never seen that glove just pop the padding out towards the back, but I'm sure somewhere someone has done that before. But in the case of these gloves here, actually, I do like that the stitching has not really popped out that much anywhere, if at all, at any part of the glove. There's maybe one frayed stitch at the very, very bottom right there, and that's just really searching for it. And on the other glove, I really don't see it either. But the stitching and the outer shell is very good. And also the great part about this glove, just like the Essential, it's just as easy to clean on the outside. Maybe a little bit more difficult to clean on the inside. I'll explain that in a second. But the outside vinyl, that's the cool thing about beginners that maybe don't know how to really take care of their stuff. All you gotta do when it comes to vinyl, because it's like cleaning plastic, and at the end of the day, it's really what it is. It's a man-made material. You just wipe it down with a disinfecting wipe, or maybe a paper towel that you sprayed some disinfectant stuff on it, wipe it down. And the other cool part is you still have your mesh palm, which allows the glove to breathe. So when you get home, you can take your glove out, put it in a decent temperature room. That way it's not so humid all the time. I went a step further in my office because it's all in one area. I have a very small dehumidifier that sucks the moisture out of the room, which makes it dry. The gloves keep dry, and also kind of makes them have like a nice crisp feel as well for me. But overall, it does air out very well. Now, the reason why I say it might be a little bit more difficult to clean the inside, because unlike the Essential, the Core series that we have here, yes, has the vinyl at the bottom like Sanabul does. It's the same material on the inside right there as the outside. But for the rest of the glove, it's a poly cotton. It's actually pretty absorbent of moisture, and it feels similar to like Rival interior linings. It feels very close to that, although I will say Rival interior linings are still more comfortable as far as the padding feel on the inside, the nice soft texture. This is still really close to that. So when you have your hand on the inside and it starts sweating a lot, you know, that's basically going to soak it up a bit more. I don't think it's going to soak into the padding so much, but still, that's always a risk, as the moisture will soak into all the sweat, creates bacteria, soaks into the padding, breaks it apart, especially when you have IMF Tech foam. It's one solid piece. You make a hole in the middle of that, it's going to chunk apart and bubble, and that's basically what you want to try to avoid with boxing gloves. But it's still very easy to clean the inside. And like I said, when you come home, just don't leave your stuff in the bag. Take it out. Let the mesh palm do its job to circulate the glove out. That's why they don't put the mesh towards the bottom. They keep the mesh at the top. That way it circles from the top to the bottom out that way, and air kind of circulates both ways. So that's the really cool part about this glove. Very easy maintenance. The outer shell, I think, a little bit more durable, and the stitching is definitely a little better than the Essential. The other thing you're going to notice is that the glove is a little bit more compact. It's taller, but it is more compact, and the padding is a little bit more dense in the knuckles. I do think it protects knuckles a little bit better than the Essential does, because the Essential is a little soft and it does move around a bit because it is kind of wide and puffy. In this case, it's a very thin glove as far as its profile inwards, but it is much taller than the Essential. The padding Also, because it's more compact and condensed in the center, I feel more of like space between, say, my knuckles and the target hitting it. It also makes the interior hand compartment not tight, but a little bit more compact on the back of my hand and my knuckles. Simply what that means is I don't need a really big wrap on the inside of this anymore. Meaning that if you like using a gel wrap, you can definitely do that. But you could just put on like quick wraps, or you can just put on a regular light wrap with your hand wraps, put your hand on the inside of the glove, and I really believe that's all you need. Honestly, it comes to a point to where some of these gloves nowadays are so protective that a lot of people don't even wear hand wraps with them if they don't need them. And this is one of those cases. A lot of people in my gym honestly don't wear hand wraps. Why, I don't know. Some people don't in certain places. Some people have to wrap their hands. Some people don't at all. I feel that's more of like an MMA thing. Some people don't wrap their hands, but for me, this glove is so padded to where if you didn't wrap your hands, I still would say you'd be protected. I like to wrap my hands. It's just been a habit. I've been doing it since I was 12 years old, so I'm going to keep doing it now that I'm 26, almost 27. I feel old now. But that's basically the idea when it comes to these gloves. Very protective in the knuckles. The wrist support, I think, is right along the same as the Essential, maybe a touch better in that it's going to have a little bit more stability because you have those bars. You have the bar here and you have the bar here. And basically, the thing is about the glove being so tall, you would think by putting your hand on the inside, those bars would be there. But actually, where my wrist is right now is right here on the glove right there. You can feel it. You can't really see it because the glove's in the way, but you can kind of look on this side where my wrist is. It's right there on that part. So really, it's good that the padding here is a bit more compact, and when I do this, it does suck the glove in a little bit on both sides. It locks it in place, but the wrist bars are kind of in some ways pointless. I would prefer a bigger wrist strap compared to the thin one in the track system, because this doesn't really do a whole lot. It would stop the shock if it was up here, then you put the wrist strap below it. But in this case, for me, there's still not it's better wrist support than like the Funk Strike, but I'd say it's about the same wrist support as the Essential. The bars are basically there for me for aesthetics at this point. Does it stop some shock? Yes, but honestly, there's such a distance between these that when you punch, it kind of doesn't, it might break it a little bit down here, but it's not like it's transferring directly to these two bars there. So I think they had the right idea. I've never jammed my wrist in these. It still feels pretty good. It is still slightly top heavy, as most gloves in this price range will be, because the padding is going to be so thick. Just like the IMF Tech gloves that I love by Ringside, the Apex Flash sparring gloves are slightly top heavy because you have that IMF Tech foam, right? The injected molded foam is usually a little bit heavier towards the top. That's what makes up the bulk of the weight of this glove. Now, I will say it is reasonably flexible, but you have to break this glove in a little bit more. And for me, the padding is a little bit firmer, not by much, than the Essential. I'd say it broke in a little bit. It took a little bit longer to break in than the Essential. But after, a few sessions, you hit the bags and pads with these, they do soften up pretty good. I still think they're pretty good for sparring, though they are a little bit firmer. They feel like to the jaw than the other one. But I do love hitting bags and pads with these. They protect your hand very well. The knuckle padding in these gloves are very, very good in general. It is overall a very good protective glove. I put it in that defensive glove category because of how big it is too. It is a very tall and big glove, although it is a little bit thinner in this profile part here, but you can see how much of your forearm it eats up. I would say, even though it's flexible, the grips could be a little bit stronger for me if I was doing Muay Thai and stuff. I actually think the Essentials have stronger grips and they are a little bit more flexible. And the other thing too is I do find that my fingers do crawl out a little bit when I punch, but not often. It's not as bad as the Funk Strike where they crawl out and they come all the way down to the palm. It crawls out a little bit. It maybe touches the top of this surface here, right there, I'd say. But whereas the Funk Strike, I was going down below the grip bar. In this case, I'm coming right here. You can actually see my fingers kind of poke out there. Thanks Sanabul, so that's actually a pretty good thing to have the silver there. You can see it poke out. But overall, very comfortable, very safe glove. If anything, if you need a glove that's great for bag work and sparring, or bag work and pads compared to sparring, I definitely think I would go with the Essential to spar more. They are just a touch softer, not a lot, but at the end of the day, they are safe to train in any aspect. Would I compare these with like the Ringside Flash sparring gloves? I still think the Flash sparring gloves are softer than both, actually, and safer to spar in. But in this case, I've really enjoyed using these gloves. So if I were to give them that rating on the beginner scale, kind of similar to the Essentials, I'd probably give them a very similar score of 9 or 10 out of 10. But if we're talking about the intermediate level, like the overall type of glove, you know, for like pros or intermediate level guys, I definitely give these a solid 8 out of 10. I think they do a great job. They might be a bit too stiff than for some other people, and that could drop it down to a 7 out of 10 for certain people. But if I were to give it like the overall score, it checks all the boxes that you need for safety. Great knuckle support. It's comfortable for your hand. There's room for hand wraps. It's not gonna really creep out of your fingers too much, and if it does, it's as easy as closing your fist. Very easy to make a natural fist. It's a nicely balanced glove. It's still a little bit top heavy, but that's to be expected when you use IMF Tech foam at this level glove. It's very durable. It's super easy to clean. It's going to last you for as long as you need it to last you, so long as you take good care of it. I would say I would give these gloves a good shelf life. If you're using these every single day, beating the crap out of them and taking care of them, at least 1.5 years to 2 years. And for 40 bucks, that's a pretty good solid route to go. Would I tell you to get these over the Essentials? I would say try the Essentials first, then move to these for sure. Because I think the Essentials in the beginner category for what they're trying to go for is the top is the top king right there. I would say, not trying to talk about the brand Top King, but they are the top king for beginners, especially on the market of beginners, whereas the Core is marketed as that intermediate glove, which is why I give it a little bit less of a score. And like I said, if I was talking overall with the Essentials in the last video, if I gave them to a pro, I'd still give it a 7 out of 10. But for a beginner, those are a 10 out of 10 for me. For intermediate, for pro, I'd still give these about an 8 out of 10. Like I said, great protection. Overall, going to keep you safe. Very easy to clean. Very easy maintenance. They're durable, and they do what you need them to do, and you can train in all assets with them, whether it be sparring, bag work, pads, whatever it is that you need. So overall, I've really enjoyed using the Core boxing gloves. I will continue to use these for bags and pads because honestly, these have become one of my favorite bags and pads gloves. I like them more as a bag glove than I do sparring, in all honesty. But overall, I've really enjoyed using them. So with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. As always, if you have any questions, comment below because I want you to comment above all so you can ask me for the next review what you want to see me review. And then on top of it, if I missed anything about this glove, let me know in the comments below. And if you think that I messed something up, always let me know. You can also message me on all my social media pages. And guys, we're already at 8.75 thousand subscribers. So close to 9. That's insane. And just think, all you gotta do is hit that like and subscribe button, hit that notification bell, share it around with your friends. It's a small click for you, but it means a lot for the channel. And I couldn't do any of this without your guys' help. So with that said, everybody, thank you so much for watching The Combat Corporation, your source for combat sports. I've been your host, Al the Postmaster Tomorrow, and as always, I'll see you on the next episode. Have a great day, everybody.